Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our regular meeting. Today is April 23rd, 2013. It is approximately 6:37. Clerk, can we have roll call, please?
Mayor Cordova?
Here.
Councilmember Beta?
Here.
Councilmember Peralta?
Here.
Councilmember Silva?
Here. We do have a quorum. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Peralta. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we can have the approval of the agenda. Any questions to the agenda as presented?
You have none, Mr. Mayor.
None, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we'll go to 5A, approval of the meeting minutes of March 26, 2013. Any questions to those meetings as presented?
I have none, Mr. Mayor.
None, Mr. Mayor. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we'll go to the meeting minutes of April 4th, 2013, special meeting minutes. Any question to those meetings minutes as presented?
None, Mr. Mayor.
None, Mr. Mayor.
None, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. This time we have the honorable judge in his place. We have Judge Jim Fambro sitting in for Judge Chavez, who will administer the oath of office to newly hired certified police officer Jacob Montes. If we can have Officer Montes up to the podium, please. Do we have his commission? Do we have a commission for him, for the town, or did we already? Okay. All right. Once again, I'd like to welcome Officer Montes back to our force. Welcome again. Welcome. And also, would you like to have your family? You have a wealth of law enforcement in your family, and I'd like to welcome Officer Montes and Officer Montes. Both Ron Montes is welcome to our meeting. And you guys like to stand up here? And of course, the mom.
I think it's only fair before we do this that I do remind Jacob that there still is an opening in Questa. $25. Okay, we ready? Everybody, cameras? Raise your right hand. I, Jacob Montes, having been appointed to the position of certified police officer
having been appointed to the position of
certified
police officer
in and for the town of Taos,
in and for the town of Taos,
for the governing body
for the governing body
of the town of
of
Taos,
the town of Taos,
on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2013,
on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2013,
in the county of Taos,
in the county of Taos,
state of New Mexico,
state of New Mexico,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and the laws
of the state of New
of
Mexico,
the state of New Mexico,
the town of Taos Municipal Code,
the town of Taos Municipal Code,
and faithfully and impartially
faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of said office
discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
You promise me you'll stay safe. Can we borrow your brother's car? It's really fast. He's got a really cool car. All right. There you go.
The judge also serves as administrator for the village of Cuesta, and I think we have better cars here in Taos, right? Once again, thank you to your family for all your service to our community. You guys do an excellent job, and we sincerely appreciate your service. Thank you to all the families for allowing you to serve. All the family, your grandmother is here. So thank you so much, and good luck. Okay. Next, we will go to the Citizens Forum. At this time, we have a couple of individuals signed up for the Citizens Forum. I will limit the Citizens Forum to 2 minutes due to our lengthy agenda. And the first individual we have is Mr. Jeff Northrop. Welcome to our meeting. And we'll have 2 minutes.
Okay, I had 4 topics I want to deal with. I'll try to get it in. I urge this body to oversee the installation of the broadband project by Kit Carson Electric. Luis Reyes comes in here and he's treated like a prince. But I think I have anecdotal evidence that there's a lot of problems with this project, including fraud, cost overruns, and unbelievable construction incompetence. It's critical to Taos that this project be carried out in a proper way, and I don't believe that's being done at this point. And there's a long way to go, and there's a lot of help that I think Kit Carson Electric needs to see that this project is done correctly. I'm glad to see the town has begun to deal with the problem of the $400,000 money pit that the convention center has been. Former Councilman Gene Sanchez often addressed this problem, and it was ignored. And it looks like the town is finally taking a step forward in trying to save some money from this building. And I still wonder why the town, if they felt like they had to move out of the police station, they didn't consider moving into the convention center, which certainly, among other things, would have huge savings in energy charges. It's a well-insulated building, unlike the command center, which is basically uninsulated and has electric heat as well. I continue to fear for my own well-being, especially after Assistant District Attorney Daniel Romero finally granted me a few minutes of his time yesterday. Following the town's lead, he said that his office has no interest in investigating the incidents of Amos Khan chasing me down the street with his truck as I tried to stop him from stealing my property. This assault with a deadly weapon is well documented on videotape, yet the DA never even asked to interview me, the victim, before dropping the case. Along the same lines, I've often asked this council to form a citizens oversight committee of the Taos Police Force, both to protect citizens and the integrity and independence of the police department. Among other issues, the town administration has basically turned to vigilante justice as concerns
Please
Amos
wrap up your
Khan's...
comments. Please wrap up your comments.
I just
sir.
have one more sentence. May I finish?
Sure.
Among other issues, the town administration has basically turned to vigilante justice as concerns Amos Khan's clearly illegal activity. My property is free for Mr. Khan to take as he sees fit, and the police will not protect it, nor me if I choose to stop the theft. The entire situation is a shameless disgrace. Any questions?
Okay, next we have Ariana Del Merco, Rocky Mountain Youth Corps. Did I pronounce your last name? Del Merco. I knew it was Ariana Vigil.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome to our meeting.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Managers, Mr. Manager, Mr. Councilman, and Youth Council member. It's so great to see a youth face on the council. I'm here today on behalf of Rocky Mountain Youth Corps to let you know about our Taos River and Land Cleanup, which we will be holding on Saturday, June 8th. 8:30 a.m. to 12 noon. So I'd like to make you aware of this cleanup that has been going on now for 6 years, and we'd like to invite you all to participate, and we'd like to ask the town for support as well. So we aren't looking for any financial support. We're just looking for support of perhaps your staff, your personnel, just awareness, and perhaps you all could join us. So with ample notice, I feel like we could partner. I know that there's a lot of groups out there that tend to go and clean up, and just hoping that we could begin to collaborate and get on the same page when it comes to that focused energy on cleaning up our lands and our rivers and our streams.
Great. Thank you, Ariana. Oscar, if we can coordinate with Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, I know we have our annual spring cleaning as well. Maybe we can dovetail off of that and collaborate and see, because more effort we can do, that'll be great. Also, I just want to commend Rocky Mountain Youth Corps for the excellent job that they do. I had a chance to visit your facilities and new facilities that have been in operation for a couple of years now, but you sincerely do a great job with our youth in this community. So,
thank you.
Councilmember Peralta.
Mr. Mayor, Adriana, just a question just for the listening audience, and where is the start going to be on that day?
Yes, thank you. The meeting place is at 8 o'clock a.m. at St. James Episcopal Church. They have offered their space, donated their space to us, and will be providing refreshments to volunteers. And all will meet and coordinate where they will be going, and departure at 8:30. And then back at noon, we would like to also let volunteers know that lunch will be provided as well, free of charge, as a thank you to all who volunteer their time to cleaning up our rivers and our lands.
Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to thank Rocky Mountain Youth Corps for taking the lead in this effort to keep our community beautiful.
Thank you. We have some really great partners that, have been doing this for years, and I believe Sentinel Bank of Taos was really focal in the beginning efforts of this event in 2006.
Right.
Mr. Jim White, and it's just grown from there with partners. The Sierra Club has joined Amigos Bravos, United States Forest Service, Taos County, and of course Sentinel Bank still. So it's a collaborative effort, and I didn't want to leave the town out.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Rodriguez, I will be in touch with you.
I appreciate that, yes,
Okay.
indeed. At the same time, we are organizing that spring cleaning, so it would be good to see what the dates are so that, as the
Great.
mayor was saying, we could dovetail with what we're doing.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
And I just, a personal note, I really, my focus is on engaging our youth who so many times I hear do not have anything to do. And if we can engage them in rewarding service that will not only create that community buy-in and opportunities for them to put on their resumes that they were volunteering and providing a service to their community, as you know, Michael, would be an excellent star on that resume or college application. So,
Well, that day you'll see everybody here picking up trash and cleaning up, so.
I commend you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you, Ariana. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. And before we go to see if there's anyone else who'd like to speak, I also would like to thank the chief and Steve Kennebeck for all of their efforts in the graffiti abatement with volunteers, many volunteers throughout the community. Chief, do you want to let the listening audience know just what we've done on there? I think it was great. It was a great coordinated effort where we saw many graffitied areas abated, and they look clean now. And I hear that we even had Judge McElroy assisting on the efforts as well.
Mr. Mayor, yes, that's correct. Mayor Cordova, council members, very proud to announce, as a spokesman basically for many people in this room, including Mr. Kennebeck, who was really the driving force behind this effort over the last 3 months, bringing community resources together, our private industry, our corporate folks and partners here in town, partners with Town and Taos and with the county, including the Adult Detention Center. We brought a group together on what was our first overt effort at graffiti abatement this last Saturday. We had in estimate about 15 volunteers show up, including Judge McElroy, 5 juvenile youth members of our community, one of whom had been arrested for graffiti and was serving their community service in helping us take it down. We had such a good turnout that we ended up abating the majority of the graffiti on Merced within 45 minutes, and that wasn't enough for this group. They turned around, looked at the two of us, and said, "Where else can we go paint over graffiti?" So we went and found a house on La Posta, got the permission of the property owner, and abated the graffiti on the front wall of their residence at no charge. So it was a huge success. By no means will it hopefully be our last one. We intend for this to be an ongoing and sustainable effort. The next step is to try and bring the Adult Detention Center and their inmate work crew into the fold on this, and very soon you'll see some of our sentenced inmates out on our streets abating graffiti, picking up litter, and cleaning up our community. So that's a brief summation, but it's been a team effort.
Kudos to both of you for organizing this with the private sector. Clearly, it shows that when we focus that energy and do something positive for our community, especially the individuals that have been sentenced, and this in lieu of jail time or as part of their sentence. If we could work closely with the drug court, also since a lot of the graffiti is based around gangs, and maybe there can be some collaboration with the court system to abate some of the things that they're creating.
I think we have a huge step in that direction, evidenced by the fact that Judge McElroy was on scene along with some of the kids that he'd sentenced to community service.
Great. It's a great program. I'm glad to see it and going on. Thank you. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief and Mr. Kennebec, I want to congratulate you also. Thank you for the efforts you put forth. It's a breath of fresh air for, I know me as one counselor, to see 2 staff members, completely different departments, work together and create a collaboration within this community. And it's really hopefully a sign that the town is turning over a new leaf also within its leadership that shows that we are all working together, and that's included between you and it's demonstrated between you. So if there's anything that you need from me, I'm happy to go scrub walls too. So please call upon it.
Careful what you ask for, sir.
I don't mind. I don't mind. Trust me.
Thank you all. Thank you. Appreciate the great work. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak under the Citizens Forum? 2 minutes. Welcome to our meeting.
I stopped by the Public Works Department early this morning to see if I could look at a survey or a drawing of Camino de la Merced that would delineate the road centerline rights-of-way and the abutting property lines. The town is preparing to initiate some work on that street, as you're all aware. I was told by a member of the town staff the town didn't have that information. The town, I believe, has entered into a contract that calls for a survey and for an engineering firm to design the road work based on the survey, and I imagine prepare working drawings on which the construction will be based. The survey was done by a Santa Fe firm. Why Santa Fe, given the so very often voiced admonition heard in this community, as well as heard from its purported leaders to look locally to satisfy needs, is a question that puzzles me and for which I have no answer. I believe the contract was let to the Santa Fe surveying firm, and the engineering firm is a subcontractor, that being Abeta Engineering. Is there no local surveyor qualified or willing to do the work? Did none bid if it's a job that called for bids? If there were local bids, I have to assume the Santa Fe firm was low bidder. If so, I wonder if anyone bothered to consider the carbon cost of a minimum 6 gallons of gasoline, and that's being generous, per 150-mile round trip for each vehicle. At 20 pounds of carbon dioxide per gallon, give or take, it's about 120 pounds of carbon dioxide per vehicle per trip dumped into the air of northern New Mexico each time someone travels round trip between Taos and Santa Fe. Every oil-powered trip not taken by every one of us is important and meaningful, be the journey short or long. After the information I sought was not available at Public Works, I walked over to Abeta Engineering where I got a glimpse of the survey. I think the survey would be referred to as an existing conditions survey. That is, the survey was conducted using existing conditions as both guide and constraint. If there's a fence on one side of the road, then the fence will likely be taken as either a right-of-way or property boundary without actually ascertaining those boundaries, and lines will be cast accordingly across the landscape to delineate yours from mine, mine from yours, and ours from yours and mine. Someday those lines of artifice cast across the ground that we all traverse and share will be meaningless, of no effect, and long forgotten.
Please,
At which point our
please
true
wind up your
common
comments.
will be apparent to us. I have just a couple more paragraphs.
No, we limited the citizens forum to 2 minutes. Please wrap up your comments.
To 2 minutes?
No, you have
No, you said
10 seconds left.
You said you
You have
limited-
10 seconds left.
I'm-
We already gave you 2 minutes.
I said, that's the limit, is
Okay,
2 minutes.
we're going to go to the next person. Is there anyone else that would like to speak under the citizens forum? Seeing none, we will close the citizens forum and move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda reads as follows. If there's any item that you would like to remove from the consent agenda, we will feel free to remove those items for discussion, and I will read the consent agenda as follows. Consideration, item 8A, consideration and possible approval to award Sauter-Miller and Associates Contract TT 13215 and utilities improvement, that is Camino de la Merced roadway and utilities improvement in the amount of $149,346.35, inclusive of gross receipts tax for basic engineering and additional services as outlined in the request for proposals. The fee for engineering is 13.6% of the estimated cost of $800,000, 10% for design, and 3.6% for construction. Item B, 2013 International Dump Truck Purchase, consideration approval to purchase a 2013 International 7500 dump truck from Roberts Truck and Bus Center of Albuquerque in the amount of $85,100 through state contract to replace a 1997 Ford Unit 44 with 81,695 miles. Item C, consideration and approval to purchase a 10-foot Crystal dump box, Swenson salt spreader, and a Henke snowplow to equip a 2013 International 7500 dump truck. This purchase will be made from state contract as issued to construction truck equipment from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Item D, consideration and approval of Resolution 1322 to apply for and accept a grant from New Mexico Department of Transportation Aviation Department for construction of a snow removal equipment building at the Taos Regional Airport. The project funding breakdown amounts are as followed. FAA, $292,500. New Mexico Department of Transportation Aviation Division, $29,500. Town of Taos, $3,000, for a total project cost of $325,000. Those are the items on the consent agenda. Council members.
Move for approval. Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item 9A, presentation by Ricky Serna of Northern New Mexico College. He's not going to be here, correct?
He won't be
Yeah,
here.
you send me an email.
I'll add him
Yeah.
to the next
Okay.
agenda.
So if we can, we'll skip that. Council members, and next, item B, financial update, presentation of the monthly financial report for a period ending March 31st, 2013. Marietta,
Good evening, Mayor, council members, youth council member.
are we doing good?
We're doing good. I don't know how I'm doing, but we're doing good.
Okay.
We would have joined Chief and Steve on Saturday, but Oscar, myself, and Abigail were working on the budget. I think I'd have had more fun cleaning up messes, but it's going good.
Me too.
You do. So just a little summary on our March report. As you can see, we did pick up some of our shortfall with our March revenues on our gross receipts tax. So looking with 3 months left, and I know you haven't gotten your current GRT because I've sort of been behind and working on the budget, but that did come down. We were a little short on this April's receipts, about 1.5%. So you'll get that report hopefully within the next couple of days. But hopefully we'll end up the year based about 4%, based on our October's 6% that we did. But we did make up some shortfall. Our expenditures, we're already working on the budget, which we'll have those budget meetings next Wednesday and Thursday. We've already asked the departments to give us their projected expenditures. So the report that you have in front of you shows those in their expenditure side, what the departments have projected through the end of the year, and those won't be changing until the final report in June when we have actual figures, and we'll see how close we've all estimated our budgets this year. Ending balance, we still continue to keep a healthy ending balance going into the next year also. You'll get that information next week. Our capital projects, a couple of big things that were spent in facilities, a lot of work order items done, a lot of IT purchases. Also the next payment for the design on the airport, so that's moving pretty quickly. We still have a lot of unspent capital funds, which we more than likely will be carrying a lot over this year and getting some of those done into the next fiscal year. Debt service pretty much stays the same. We do have all our payments out in May at the Finance Authority. And other than that, I don't know if I'll stand for any questions that you may have regarding the report. Special funds and enterprise funds are running on track, pretty much self-sufficient. A lot of the big expenditures now at the end of the year on the capital for special revenue funds and transportation, some buses coming in, hopefully get those all done by the end of the fiscal year. And there was a ghost on that second page. There's a line there that you're probably all looking at, but I think technology, I must have done something strange. But the numbers are there. The numbers are correct.
Any comments, questions? Thank you, Marietta.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Avita.
Thank you, Mayor Cordova. Thanks, Marietta. Seeing your briefing, we were looking at about a 2% gain instead of a 6% shortfall, 4%. What does that equate to in dollars?
Probably looking at about a $250,000 roughly.
Okay. And what I would recommend, Council, Mr. Mayor, and Mr. Manager, and Marietta, is let's look at how we could use that $250 to do something for our employees.
And Council Member, we will be bringing an idea coming at the budget cycle, because with all these figures here and knowing what the departments have already planned on returning, we do have a plan coming forward. Okay. So we just we'll wait till the actual budget presentation to bring that to you.
Thank you.
But just to be absolutely clear, it's not so much that we won't be in a shortfall this year. In other words, less than what we had projected. It's just that it won't be as great a shortfall as we had projected back in October. So, but it will still be about a 4.5% below what we had projected in July.
Yes.
Yeah, but given the fact that we had projected 6%, we were tightening the belt accordingly, and now we have anywhere from $200,000 to $250,000 that can be applied to a very meaningful purpose, and I'm talking about the employees. So.
Indeed. Yeah, funny how when you're looking at a 6% shortfall, how a 4% looks really good.
Absolutely.
And I just want to clarify also that when we say shortfall, that's what revenue projections were, correct?
Yes, sir. We are not going to spend more than what we received. It's just that because we back in October we started pulling back, and so it's just we're going to be receiving less than what was projected previously. But we've adjusted, and as a result, we have a higher ending balance at this point. Where we're looking at close to about a 40-day ending balance. As you recall, when the budget was approved back in July, we were projecting about a 34-day ending balance. And so we're going to be able to, you're going to see in the budget proposal us improving that ending balance. And maybe, Councilman, with your direction, we can do something even also for the employees. We'll be bringing that proposal to you next couple of days.
When you look at the ending balance, we're required by the state to hold 1/12 of our budget and reserves.
30
And we're-
days, yeah.
30, which is 30 days. That's our requirement, and right now we're up to about 40 days, which is, I think it's this council's desire to get back to the 2/12 if we could, just to be very conservative. But we have adjusted, we have taken those revenue shortfalls and adjusted them within our budget, and we're solid, we're operating solid with our budget in the black. So on that note, I just want to make very clear, because we're receiving an abundance of emails about library closing. We are not, and I want to emphasize to the listening audience and to those that are here, we are not closing the library. Just like any other department, we're looking at how we streamline it and make the departments more efficient, and look at other revenue-generating ideas within each department, including the library. But this council, I believe, has spoken loud and clear numerous times that our priority is to keep the library, and we will keep the library open. It's a commitment we have not only to our citizens within the town of Taos, but to the citizens of the county.
And Mr. Mayor, just to echo that a little bit, I myself have received a lot of emails, and I think it's a sentiment, like you said, shared by this entire council. I mean, it was never even really an option in closures. So I want to make that perfectly clear, too. Mariette, I do have just one question for you.
Yes.
Based on the GRT reports, where were our shortfalls this month, or this time around, compared to the gain we had last?
I was actually just sitting down looking at them, and one main one is construction. For some reason, last year this time, the construction was up like 20. The downfall right now was like $20,000 in dollars. So the biggest one was in construction, again. So that one keeps planes apart, going up and down depending on what's happening. You know, I know we have a good construction project going on now, which, you know, we didn't really account for that. So that'll just be excess next year whenever it starts happening. So
that number was not included in.
Last month. That number was included last month, which is why we got that
The
1.5% increase last month.
Yeah, okay.
But this for April's receipts that I haven't sent you the report, it was construction that was actually down this year compared to last year.
Okay.
And just another thing on another note, just because with the projections, even though we did the changes in October and at mid-year, there's still a lot of cost savings within the departments and personnel and stuff. So that helps to that ending balance too, that we can, you know, help out with whatever we do for the employees. But there's a lot of changes in the upcoming budget, so we'll wait for the real days to come and give you all that information. So
Okay. Thank you.
it's just helping with the new changes.
Councilmember Silva.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to echo the ideas that Councilman Abeyta had, and I just share those same views. And if we could do something moving forward in preparing the budget, if we have extra funds, it'd be nice to be able to reward our employees. That's all I have.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Merida.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you. Okay, next we will go to item C, consideration and approval of Resolution 1321, waiver of employee or immediate family member contracting with the Town of Taos. The waiver allows for Town of Taos to contract with Alex R. Abeyta of Abeyta Engineering for engineering services as outlined in sealed bid 10 PO 1213, development of the reconstruction of Camino de la Placita, Civic Plaza Drive, and Ben Street. Alex R. Abeyta is related to Rudy C. Abeyta. Not only are they related, but they're identical twins.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I will not be participating in the discussion, and I will abstain from voting.
Okay. Please note that for the record. Any questions, concerns, council members? Councilmember Peralta.
Mr. Mayor, Oscar, what is the parameters of that contract? In other words, how far do we go on Camino Placita north and south and Civic Plaza Drive and that? Is it controlled pretty much around the convention center, or does it go further out than that? French?
Yeah, we have our public works director here who can answer those very particular questions.
French, welcome to our meeting.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Councilmember Peralta, it's 650 feet of Civic Plaza Drive, and it actually starts at the entrance of Town Hall Drive, and it goes south up to Bent Street, and it includes all of Bent Street and all of Civic Plaza Drive.
French, real quick. Wasn't this the road we were going to pave for the last municipal league meeting when they had their conference? We were trying to target doing it before then. Is that the same area, general area?
Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just that sometimes I get questions from members of the council about that great big lump in Camino La Placita as you're going around the bend before the intersection with Valverde Street. And so the question sometimes is, what's going to happen with that big lump that we have there?
It used to be a pothole, now they overfilled it.
Speed bump.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Oscar, that was actually a water line break that was repaired, and the reason it has a hump is because they simply don't make hot mix in the wintertime. So that's a temporary fix, and we do intend to fix that. There's also a dip in front of the Guadalupe Church that with this project that'll be addressed as well. So there's 2 spot repairs that are that'll be repaired in addition to the roadway work.
One final question, though. Mr. Mayor, French, do we have in the budget the funds to do the actual reconstruction? Or are we just going to do the engineering for now and then figure out exactly what the budget will be for that project and then look for the funds?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Peralta, no, we do have the money in the budget, and the way the reason the engineering was let out was simply because we do have the funds to do it, and we have a co-op agreement that is being offered by NMDOT for the repairs of Placitas Road. The other 2 roadways are supported out of the general fund monies, and they have been budgeted for.
Yeah, this is one of those projects that our finance director mentioned to you would be carrying forward to the next fiscal year. In the budget, the CIP you're going to see next year, you'll see a much increased, a more significant road improvement budget for next year as well, not including a lot of projects that they're going to be carrying forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, French.
French, real quick on a road-related issue. When are we targeted to do the striping for the main road?
Mr. Mayor, we've actually contacted NMDOT as we do every year about this time, and I'm actually waiting to hear back from them. They go through the same procuring process as we do in putting things out to bid, so they're in the process of doing that with the 2 contractors in the state that do the striping. So once we hear back from them, that information will be given to Oscar along with a couple of other initiatives that we do every spring.
So I spoke to the governor's chief of staff, and that triggered a visit from NMDOT to my office. Just to, I asked the governor, since we serve as the gateway to the enchanted land of enchantment, that's how I was giving my spiel. And people that visit from Colorado and all these areas, that our main road is a mess. I mean, especially after you get down Cantu Hill, and that's NMDOT. And he said that they may have some monies left over from other projects that can do a mill and resurface. And I believe he said that the striping may be sometime in early summer, and I asked him if they can kind of expedite that, and he said he was going to see what he can do. So, those conversations kind of been started, just because I know that we didn't have funding available for the main road specifically for this year, but that was the same case that was a couple of years ago, and they were able to pave or remill the from El Prado, Allsups down to the intersection of the plaza.
Yes, that's correct. That's Mr. Mayor. Over the years, we had been working with DOT, and our main concern was that they had done something on the roadways on the outskirts of the historic district, and so we asked that they pay attention to the core of the district, which is the roadway you just described. So along with along with that roadway and Kit Carson Road, those projects got done.
Yeah.
And of course, the town of Taos did their share of the work as well.
Yeah, and he does acknowledge that the whole corridor, the whole road, from the all the way out to Ranchos, needs some resurfacing. So they are looking. If they do something, they were looking at targeting some dollars to do the whole thing. But I told them at a minimum, if they can at least help us with that area right in front of McDonald's and all those areas there.
Yes, and the NMDOT through District 5 at present is actually doing a corridor study of the entire roadway starting from Cervantes North to Allsup's. They've already gone and identified their right-of-way. The next phase of that, which they refer to as Phase B, will be to actually go door-to-door and gather information. Okay. So that's a long-term project, but in the interim, yes, they do need to pay attention to the maintenance and upkeep of the road.
Great. I know we got sidetracked on that, but if we can just keep putting the pressure on them, I appreciate that.
Come on.
Councilmember Silva.
I do have a question with regards to this. When you say long-term project and their Phase B, I mean, what are we looking at as far as timeline goes? Tough question.
Very, Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Silva, yeah, it's a very tough question. And this project actually goes back, about 13 years when the initial corridor study was being conducted. And they opted to take the funds somewhere else within the state. So obviously the project never got done. And they revamped it as early as a year ago. So they started working on that. So I'm sorry, Councilmember Silva, but I don't have a good answer for you as far as the timeline is concerned.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, French.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
I have none, Mr. Mayor.
Move for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Next, we will go to item D, Resolution 1323, hiring of an immediate family member of a current town employee. Consideration and approval of Resolution 1323. The town of Taos proposes to hire Mario Archuleta as recreation specialist at the Youth and Family Center. Mario is the nephew of current town employee Carlos Ortega, who works within the Facilities, Service, and Parks Division. The employment of Mario Archuleta would not create a direct or indirect supervisor-subordinate relationship, a conflict of interest, nor the appearance of a conflict of interest. Oscar.
Yes, sir. Straight ahead. We are finally filling one of those vacant youth and family center positions we mentioned to you last time that we were having such a hard time filling. In a small town like this, you will get these conflicts. Just a pro forma, we're asking permission from the council to go ahead and do this. There's no conflict at all. His dad would never be in a position to supervise it.
Okay. Plus, the competitiveness of our HR processes ensures that they went through a proper committee and was deemed that this individual was the best fit and the best choice.
Yes, sir. And we, as we mentioned to you in the presentation, you may have forgotten it because it happened about midnight the day that you heard it, or the night that you heard it. But this is one of those positions that the director over at Youth and Family Center said we were having a real hard time filling. We finally got it done now, and just in time actually for the summer and the spring activities. So. Yeah, not only was this the best person, but we went a long time trying to fill it.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item E, consideration and approval of a request for a full and partial closures of Taos Plaza over a 3-day event on May 17th, 18th, and 19th for Taos Lilac Festival. The request will also require the temporary closure of Don Fernando Street and Camino de la Placita from 10 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. on May 18th for a pet parade, which will begin at Guadalupe Church and end in the plaza. Oscar.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, what we have here is actually, it was an annual festival, but it never actually got to this stage.
First annual.
Yeah,
Can
but
have the gentlemen introduce themselves. Gentlemen,
John.
welcome to our meeting.
John Hamilton with the Taos Lilac Festival.
Tom Wheeler with the Taos Lilac Festival.
Welcome to our meeting, gentlemen.
Well, I say that it's never turned into an actual festival, but in previous years there have been lilac activities, or there's been efforts to, I guess, make a big deal about lilacs in the community.
Well, last year, during the cleanup that will be happening next week, a number of us went through Taos and cleaned up the lilac, older lilac bushes, and we fertilized everything and planted some lilacs on the plaza, preparing for this year's festival.
So this festival will be taking place at about the time we expect the lilacs to be blooming, which is in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And so this will then be the first annual festival of the Lilac Festival, and hopefully that this will be one of centuries of this festival being in town, and it matches very perfectly with our attempt and with Council's direction to try and have more activities on the plaza than what's there right now. And actually, it also happened at about a time when there's nothing else going on in the community before Memorial Day, I guess between Memorial Day and other events that have been taking place. And so we recommend this. We've been working with the organizers of the festival so that we have a good kickoff for our first year. The town is a co-sponsor of this event, and so what we're asking for you here is just simple formal permission to go ahead and close these streets during these times for the pet parade, as well as when the activities are there. There's going to be the Tio Vivo, and we want to partially close the streets so that the Tio Vivo is able to function there at the time.
Okay. Gentlemen, do you want to give us a little bit of information on the event?
John?
We're trying to make an event that will draw people to the town of Taos in a traditionally very slow time of year, and to encourage people to clean up their lilacs. There are a lot of lilacs all over town. They traditionally bloom at the end of May, the last half of May, and other towns, Rochester, New York, has a population of 200,000 people, and they have 600,000 people attend their Lilac Festival. They've been doing it for a century now. And we envision that if we can get this activity going, make it a full Town of Taos activity, involve a lot of the community, a lot of the service organizations, that we can draw people from surrounding communities to come into town, rent rooms, eat meals, shop at our merchants, generate sales, generate some gross receipts tax. And as a byproduct, we get people to plant more lilacs, take care of them. And the activities we're planning this year, we have a lot of cooperation. The Stray Hearts Animal Shelter is conducting the pet parade. Following the pet parade, Father Clement Niggle from Our Lady of Guadalupe Church is going to do a pet blessing at the plaza. And following that, we'll have a costume contest for pets. We'll have Jimmy Stadler in the afternoon. The Taos Auto Enthusiast is going to do a truck show for us, to caravan from Sagebrush down to the plaza, and we're going to have a variety of contests, decorate trucks. We were going to have the ugliest truck contest, but now it's the most Taosinho truck that we'll have. And just getting...
That's politically correct.
Getting a lot of people involved.
We're having restaurants all over Taos put lilacs on their table and pressing for just a happiness. I mean, I think that we can have a good festival and everybody have fun. Once again, we have Tia Vivo there. And the Antique Truck Show, I think, is going to be a real fun event.
And we're trying to minimize the time that the streets are closed. We do need to close the two streets adjacent to Tio Vivo, in front of La Fonda and in front of the Gorge, so the Tio Vivo can set up in the corner and not have traffic going by it. And then the only other times we want to close traffic is when We do the pet parade for a short period of time around the plaza, and when the trucks come in and when they park around the plaza. We're very sensitive to the merchants. We're hopeful that we drive enough business there that it will more than make up for their street closures and that we can get a lot of people here. The Taos News is doing a wonderful job for us to give us a lot of advertising, and are very grateful of the advertising we can get to attract people and make it a fun time for the whole town.
Great. Great. Any comments, questions? Councilmember Peralta?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, gentlemen, do you have a way of slowing down my lilacs? Because I think they're going to be finished by the 15th of May.
They do have their own mind.
I know they do. Go ahead.
And one thing that does happen is some of the lilacs bloom at different times. So we should have some lilacs blooming, even if we have a freeze year. Some lilacs survive. And it's just like the Cherry Blossom Festival in Washington. Some years they have a very poor turnout of cherry blossoms. Mm-hmm. And if we can get enough people coming to town and making a big enough activity, well, we can have a lilac festival with or without lilacs.
Well, mine seem to be going to town. They love this warm weather. The question I have, though, is on the plaza. So at what times of the day are we looking at for the truck parade and the pet parade? I understand that one already.
The pet parade is from 10 to 11, basically. And the truck show will arrive at the plaza at 1 o'clock and then park their trucks on a static display for the rest of the afternoon, and then traffic will be able to continue through there. So we're just looking at an hour or so in the morning on Saturday the 18th from 10 to 11, and then 30 minutes or so for the trucks to arrive and get parked on the afternoon of the 18th. And then the rest of the times are during the day to have the two streets closed in front of Gorge and La Fonda on Saturday and Sunday when the carousel is running.
Now just
the
to be
Lions Club is putting that up for us.
Just to be sure, so everyone understands what all will be closed at what time. Of course, we're going to have to close that side of the street hours before and get people out of those parking spots so that the trucks can come in and park there. So that's why it's a partial closing, not so much because the trucks are coming in, but because we're closing it for people to park.
Councilmember
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sounds like a good party. I'm in.
Great.
Yeah. Great. Any other comments, questions? What is the, this is for approval, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Item E, what is the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you for your hard work in making this,
Thank you. I hope
this
to
event
see you
happen.
all there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be there.
Great job. Next, we'll go to item F, update regarding Central Communications, update regarding the relocation of Central Communications to the Regional Command Center located at 1146 Gustav Road. Abigail and Chief.
Mr. Mayor, this will be a presentation just by Ms. Adame.
Okay.
A couple of things here. First of all, this begins with what will be a monthly report to you about the progress to move emergency dispatch from Civic Drive to Gustorf. So you'll be getting this report every month from now on until we're done. The other thing I want to mention to you is in the meantime, we need to focus very, especially on this project. We want to make sure everything goes very well. And so to make sure that happens and to provide us some leadership in that area until everything is done, I've appointed Ms. Adame as the acting director in that department. Of course, it doesn't come with any other changes than just more duties on the assistant town manager. And as you know, up until now, there has been no director. In fact, that department really has never had a director. We've been asking a person who was a supervisor to serve that function, and as we mentioned to you last time, we were changing that. And so in the interim, until we figure it out, until we come to final terms with the county about how to proceed with this, I've asked Ms. Adame to assume the responsibility of director. So she will be the one that will be spearheading or giving us leadership on this project, and she's the one that's going to be giving you this progress report every month from now on until it's done.
Thank you, Oscar. Mr. Mayor, council members, what I'd like to do at this time is to provide the council with an update of where we are with the relocation of dispatch to the Regional Command Center. Before I begin the presentation, I'd like to give a quick overview of the chronological events that have allowed us to get to where we are today. Back in November, late November, the town council approved a contract with 911 Solutions, Mr. Bud Lake, which was a contract that consisted of 3 phases. Phase 1 was the assessment of existing conditions and capabilities in comparison with that of the regional center. The second phase was the planning recommendations for either an upgrade of the regional command center or our current central communication center. And phase 3 was the project implementation and management support of either of those centers. In January, the council received 2 reports, one from Mr. Lake regarding the resultant study of his comparable study, and then we also received a presentation from myself regarding the conditions of our current dispatch center. As Oscar highlighted, we did at that point bring to the council a lot of the conditions that concern us with the way and the manner in which dispatch operates today. And then in February, the town council granted or approved a grant from DFA for dispatch equipment in the amount of $362,000. And then in March, the council approved a lease to relocate our current dispatch communications operations to the regional command center. Our target date for move-in, at this point, it is tentative until we speak with the vendors and project manager, is the end of July of 2013. At this point, the town of Taos will be contracting with an individual or individuals to manage the removal of the current equipment at the regional command center. Sorry, my pages here are a little messed up. That equipment involves the radio consoles, furniture, phone lines, NCIC, CAD equipment, the computer-aided dispatch, as well as the National Crime Information Center, as well as the recorder. Because there are many vendors that need to be contacted and coordinated with, we will be hiring a project manager to take on that coordination and schedule the move according to our deadline of July of 2013, end of 2013. Once that project is approved with the contractor that the town of Taos engages with, that contractor will be responsible for scheduling a kickoff meeting, and they will be responsible for determining the scope and deliverables with each of the vendors, and at that time they will develop a schedule and the sequencing of events. The project manager will be asked to provide a final schedule to the town of Taos, which we will approve, and then we will also be approving, they will be getting the quotes from the vendors, and then the town of Taos will give the green light to go ahead and contract with those individuals. In order to give the council a little overview of what the project entails, I've gone ahead and listed a few of the task descriptions as well as who is responsible for that portion of the move. The building preparation, which entails the security of the doors, soundproofing of the walls, air conditioning of the server room, will be a responsibility of the town of Taos and the Kit Carson Electric Co-op. We also need to do an R56 audit for the site preparation, which is basically just an audit that tells us where we are with the grounding, so to ensure that during any power surges, the town of Taos, or that our equipment is covered. The contractor will be responsible for that portion. We will also be removing and refurbishing 5 of the consoles, and the individuals who are specialized in this and who put these items together is Watson Furniture, and the contractor will be responsible for removing and installing these consoles at the regional command center. And we will also have to coordinate with CenturyLink to install the administrative phone lines. It is the responsibility of Motorola to install the 911 equipment, but we are responsible for managing or coordinating the installation of the administrative lines. We also have a recorder that needs to be relocated, and Go Circle is responsible for that. So the project manager will coordinate that schedule with Go Circle. And some of the items that we can do internally is the move of the National Crime Information Center database, as well as the computer-aided dispatch, which is provided by Sleuth, and the IT department will be responsible for that portion. Once we have completed the building preparation and the site preparation, and the move has taken place with our equipment and the consoles that I mentioned earlier, we will then coordinate with Motorola so that they come in and install the 911 equipment, which is granted by DFA with that $362,000 amount I mentioned. One of the most important items in this project is a system cutover and testing portion. This will ensure that we do not have any downtime, or if during that downtime we are covered, so that individuals that are still utilizing the dispatch services receive or are responded to, and that will be done probably in two aspects, and that would be our backup with Red River as well as the setup of our mobile command unit. And
Abigail, on that note, after we met with Rio Arriba County, they said that Red River may not be capable of fully handling this changeover, and that's the reason why the talks with Rio Arriba, they would need an interface, which is about $1,900, that would fully ensure that we were backed up completely during the time of cutover. So have we addressed that issue, Oscar? Abigail?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember, sorry, Oscar, Mr. Mayor. I've spoken with individuals from Motorola as well as potential project managers, and they don't seem to think that that's going to be an issue. I have brought that to their attention. They've just asked for a little time to look into that, so I should be hearing back from them probably within the next few days.
Okay, because Bill Range is the one that specifically had mentioned that to us. So I would just make sure that we're all in.
Yeah, I wasn't on that conversation, Mayor, and yes, he did say that, but he was referring to a situation where it would be an extended backup, okay, as in weeks, and he felt that would stress the backup capability. But here, what we're talking about is hopefully just hours, okay. And so in this regard, we will be using our mobile commands to serve as the first line, if you will, of backup, with Red River behind that. Okay. And of course, if we see any reason that should be longer than just a couple of hours, then you bet we'll be looking at going to Rio Arriba or whatever else needs to happen for there to be that. Sure. Absolutely no chance of any kind of interruption.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, Oscar, in the event that it's more than a couple of hours, are we okay though? I mean, be it a day or 2 days, with the transfer to Red River. I mean, you're saying weeks of backup.
You will get that information here before we go forward. And so we think that we'll be able to identify how much time it'll do to test and to cut over. And so if we find for any reason that we'll be talking about days and not hours, we will identify it to you. We'll bring that to you here and tell you how we're going to proceed in order to make sure that is bridged. At this point, what we're thinking is that it would be at the exposure would be at most hours, if not actually just minutes, in the way we're going to proceed. Fortunately, dispatch doesn't all come over in one great big go. There are many different pieces, and so it does allow us, especially since we'll have an old PSAP and a new PSAP going. So we'll have the capability here, some capability here anyway, to be able to set up over there, test it, and kind of see if it goes, at least in partial form, and then once it's going, then bring the rest over. So that's what we're saying. Potentially there would not be any interruption at all, but at this point we're thinking that that if there was any interruption, it would be a matter of hours and certainly not days. Before we take that step, we'll bring it to you here so you'll know exactly what's happening and so that the public knows what's happening.
Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Right, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Gonzalez, and that is something that we have stressed with the potential contractors is it's a very imperative that we have redundancy for backup. So we're looking at Red River, setting up the mobile command unit. And also, as Oscar mentioned, is we have a 5th council currently at our dispatch center that is not utilized. So that would probably be the first to go. That are 2 councils, and then we'd be testing them as we went so that we have the ability to still provide that service. And that's also an important or final important component to the move is that we ask that the contractor ensure the integration of and validate the systems and that we accept such validations. In speaking to some of the potential contractors, we're looking at what's probably going to take the longest is the building preparation, the security locks, ensuring that we have a UPS system in there, the uninterrupted power supply, enough air conditioner in the server room, as well as the soundproofing of the walls. I am told, and it is tentative, that once that is complete, the actual move of our current center's equipment to the regional command center will take about 2 weeks from that start date. And that timeline is based on a schedule of Monday through Friday. And of course, assuming that our equipment is operational, I've had a few individuals walk through our current dispatch center, and they say some of the equipment that is set up currently is probably not done so in a correct manner. So it appears that it's working out because it's been like that for quite some time, but there's no telling what can happen when it's disconnected and hooked up in a proper manner.
I also want to emphasize, Abigail, just a little bit, if I just want to make this really clear, because I guess there's just been so much discussion about this. Our estimate, just to be sure, our estimate for building preparation is about $45,000. And that was detailed to you in that report. The biggest part of that building preparation, we feel, is going to be the security locks to all of the doors, the elevator and the 2 doors going down into the basement, so that the bottom floor is sealed off or secured from the top floor. We think that's going to be the biggest cost from there. After that, it'll be just soundproofing of the walls. It'll be a matter of just putting a particle board with fabric. Or a foam board with fabric over the foam board in the same fashion that all of the dispatch centers that we visited have done. We think we can do that primarily with town staff, and it just won't be a big effort to go there. In terms of the uninterrupted power service and the grounding, we also think that is really, we're talking about a minor installation and not a construction there at all. So we don't anticipate there will be really any substantial construction going on at the other building. And again, I that may be just old news to you. I just want to make sure that I'm able to tell you this in public so that I can address those concerns that are out there about how somehow there has to be a lot of construction at that other building. And I'm telling you that we're anticipating there would have to be no construction at the Gustorf building. Unless, of course, you're calling installing security locks on the doors as a major construction.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, council members, that concludes my presentation. I stand for any questions.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
Thank you, Abigail.
Thank you, Abigail. Okay. Next, we will go to item G, Police Department Review. PowerPoint presentation on the department's duties, responsibilities, and resources it manages to accomplish them, the service levels achieved, and the related issues. Chief, Abigail.
Mr. Mayor, council members, before we have the Taos Police Department departmental overview presented by Chief Police Ken Koch. He has been with the town of Taos for 8 months, and he has made some significant changes thus far. We still have a ways to go with data collection so that we can provide for data management decision making, but he'll touch on that on his presentation. So with that, go ahead.
Before you go, just for the benefit of the council, there's only one more department to go, right?
Yes, the fire department.
They always save the best for last.
Speaking of the fire department, I just want to, on behalf of the town of Taos just express our condolences to Mr. Chacon, who was an active firefighter. I could not be there because I had some services of my own to attend to, but Chief, please express our sincere condolences to the family.
Honorable Mayor, council members, Ken Koch, your Chief of Police, will be presenting hopefully what will be about a 15-minute presentation and an overview of your police department. Just in review in these department head presentations, we will be talking about the duties and responsibilities of the department. We'll be talking about the resources that the department currently has in staffing, budget, and technology to accomplish those duties, what the current service levels are in accomplishing those duties, what the strengths and weaknesses of the organization are, and finally what the work plan is to maintain those strengths and enhance those weaknesses so that we can bring our service levels up. In our duties and responsibilities, you'll notice on the previous page, one of the items listed there was a term, focus on 4. You've had a number of department heads come in and give you a department motto, if you will, and this is the one that we've chosen at the police department. For the command staff and I, our focus has always been and always will be accountability, training, mission focus, and the work environment for our employees. But in order to address that mission focus, we push the goals and objectives down to our frontline officers, and their focus on 4 objective is ethics, ethical job performance first and foremost, accident prevention to enhance the safety of our community streets for our motorists, our bicyclists, and our pedestrians, crime prevention, and all of these things come together to enhance the quality of life for our residents and for our visitors. The mission focus for the department, obviously the first and foremost, is law enforcement itself. And when we talk about law enforcement, we're talking about federal statutes, state statutes, town ordinances, civil traffic violations, and status offenses that usually equate only to juveniles, such as being a runaway or underage consumption. Within those enforcement efforts, when we find a violation, obviously it precipitates a need for investigation, a second duty of your police department. And to address that, we have our patrol officers who will usually handle most minor investigations related to misdemeanor crimes, and an investigation section staffed with detectives who will handle the more serious investigations related to felony offenses like burglary and armed robbery. All of these things come together, obviously, to affect public safety. And you've had a number of issues actually on your agenda tonight that speak directly to public safety. For instance, the Lilac Festival. When that occurs, we will have a responsibility to ensure a safe environment for the attendees and the people participating in that kind of event. Same thing holds true for the Mumford & Sons concert that will be coming up soon as well. We'll be partnering with their resources to ensure the public safety of those events. Those are the obvious ones, but you have to remember we are also charged with the day-to-day public safety of our shopping centers, our schools, our residential neighborhoods, our commercial districts. When nothing's going wrong, we still have a responsibility to ensure that safety is paramount in those areas. The 3 items you have on what is the right side of the page basically act as a support function, if you will, for the 3 items I've just detailed. When we have some form of a law enforcement breach or violation that precipitates a need for investigation, obviously we have a need for evidence functions. Those functions include the collection and identification and documentation of evidence for prosecution, its transportation to the police department where it's stored and housed until it's needed for court, and ultimately it's either returned to its owner or eventual destruction. And all of those things require a great deal of process and legal review, if you will. We also have a records management function. Every one of these investigations and much of the operations that we do on a daily basis result in some form of a report, whether it be a police report, a crime report, a traffic accident report, a traffic citation. All of those documents have to be stored within our records division and managed through a system where they can be found and retrieved sometimes years later for court purposes. And then finally, other services. Your police department obviously handles another number of other community services such as fingerprinting for individuals who are being subjected to a background check. Many of our teachers have to be fingerprinted. We also do vehicle inspections. We do child safety seat inspections. There's a number of other public services along these lines that we provide when possible. To accomplish these duties, the resources we have, first dealing with staffing, equate to 24 total sworn officers from the chief down to our newest hire, who you swore in this evening, and thank you very much for that. They are supported by 7 civilian support personnel, a total basically of 31 law enforcement employees carry out these duties and responsibilities 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I will draw to your attention the far right side of this organizational chart depicts our communications center, which Ms. Adame just detailed for you, the move. That is an entire additional department, which you've already had a presentation on, but they support these operations as well. Continuing with the resources, our budget currently sits at $2.4 million. Of that, 85% represents wages and benefits for our employees. The actual operation of the department, the day-to-day service delivery, is completed on 15% of that budget, or roughly $340,000 annually. To support the men and women who provide this service, the technology that is provided, I will draw to your attention, is mainly based within the vehicle fleet. And I would respectfully submit to you, any law enforcement function at its core service level providing efforts is based on its fleet. The police officer, that frontline employee who everyone else is built to support, has that contact with its community through the vehicle that officer operates. That is his rolling office, if you will, or her rolling office. It contains radios, computers, all of the equipment they need day in and day out to accomplish their given duties and responsibilities. And it's imperative that those vehicles are operational, that they're safe, and that they're equipped well. We currently have 22 marked emergency vehicles within our fleet, an additional 2 marked police motorcycles for much of our summertime and special activity patrol and safety prevention issues, and then 6 unmarked vehicles for our detectives and my command staff. Within the emergency vehicles that are marked, we have in-car mobile data computers. These are basically laptops that are stationed within the passenger compartment of the marked patrol car. It links the officer via data network to our dispatch center and has the capability to actually provide GIS mapping issues so that the officers can see the locations they're responding to. We have the eventual capability to pursue where they would actually be able to bring up floor plans of some of the buildings they're moving to on an emergency call for service. But that also is a link with dispatch as far as our records management system and the ability to run criminal histories and a great deal of data and information that our officers require in the field for their own safety. They also have interoperable radio communications. Because of our dispatch center and its current setup, we are capable of talking not only amongst ourselves, but to officers with the state police, with the Taos County Sheriff's Office, and a number of the fire departments and other emergency medical services in Taos County. And that interoperable communication is absolutely invaluable, especially in a crisis response. Officer body recording devices. Every one of our officers has a lapel-mounted camera that both audio and video records their contacts face-to-face, either with victims or suspects. This is a risk management tool as well as an evidence collection tool, and it's been used a number of times to make many of our cases rock solid. To support that, we also have in-car video dash cameras. You may wonder why, but if you have a vehicle pursuit or you're initiating an investigation for a DUI, having a camera on the dash documenting those violations before the traffic stop occurs, it all comes down to evidence collection, and it is what's known as the rule of best evidence. A video is always more believable, if you will, or more reliable than an individual's testimony. So it gives us absolutely rock-solid investigations. Our records management system, you've heard already about in the presentation that was done for the emergency dispatch center. It's integrated into our computer-aided dispatching software. It is our heart and soul, if you will. Every record we produce goes into our records management system, and it produces for our officers that data to enhance their investigations in the future. Less lethal equipment capabilities. For the most part, everybody has heard of these types of devices referred to as tasers. Every one of our officers is issued a taser, an electronic countermeasure device that basically disables muscular activity and allows them to take combative individuals into custody without having to resort to greater force. And I will tell you, in my career, and even in just the 8 months that I've been here, I am aware of at least one instance where a taser has kept our officers from having to resort to deadly force in order to take an individual into custody. So these things are incredibly valuable to us in our mission of saving lives.
I like the term less lethal.
Yes, sir. Because it's not non-lethal. A taser is capable of, if it's incorrectly deployed, of taking life. So it is less lethal than actual lethal force. The very specific term there for that. Partnerships, any of the technological resources we don't have, for instance, a crime lab to do the fingerprint, latent print processing, and DNA processing, we have that resource available to us through those partnerships. The FBI, New Mexico State Police, and a number of our other regional partners here in Taos County have technological resources that we don't possess, but we have access to them should we need them. So the concept of regional policing is absolutely imperative to us when we're in these more remote areas with smaller departments, and I'm proud to report we have very good relations with our federal, state, and local partners. The only true technological program that the Taos Police Department currently has is the Accident Reconstruction Program. I will draw your attention to our unfortunate fatal accident that occurred several months ago at Salazar and Merced. Our accident reconstruction team, comprised of Sergeant David Weaver, who is a certified reconstructionist, was called out with all of his equipment and took the necessary measurements of weight, skid marks, coefficients of drag on the pavement, a number of issues like that, so that when it comes time to reconstruct that accident for either criminal prosecution or the potential civil pending litigations, we'll have the capability of doing that. No other resource in Taos County has that capability. So as an example, we provide accident reconstruction when the Sheriff's Department has a fatal accident. That is a resource, though, I will point out to you that we are probably going to lose come December upon the retirement of Sergeant Weaver. Current levels of service with those technologies and trying to achieve our duties and responsibilities are probably best defined at this point as limited. We are mainly limited by the fact that our ability to draw data from our existing records management system, mine that data and analyze it into actionable and usable intelligence is limited. And you'll see that as one of the focuses that I have for our organization moving forward. Having said that, though, we do have some very specific goals. Response times, as far as a service level for our community, when we have someone call in an emergency on 911, it is our objective to have an officer on scene within 3 minutes of that dispatch. Non-emergency calls, it is our objective to have an officer on scene within 15 minutes of that dispatch. That is sometimes difficult to achieve, and I will detail that later, but it's mainly because of our staffing levels. But we do a pretty good job of hitting that most of the time. As far as our customer service satisfaction surveys, this is something we implemented actually before I got here. I found the survey, though, was a little inadequate in that it didn't provide us the ability to analyze what the survey was measuring. In other words, the measurement tool itself simply just asked some questions and equated some verbal responses without numerical value. We revised that survey in November, and since the revised survey has been used, our respondents have indicated that in overall operational contact, which is defined as your level of satisfaction with the professionalism of the officer, their demeanor and dress, their communicated caring, how well they met your expectations or achieved the thing that you needed. In most cases, 78% of our respondents stated that we exceeded their needs or their level of satisfaction. Similar questions were asked of individuals in these surveys of their contact with dispatch and records. And you'll see that 90% of the time nearly dispatch exceeded expectations, and our record center exceeded satisfaction levels 83% of the time. Perception of safety is one of the last questions we ask on this survey, and it's very simple. 2 questions. How safe do you feel walking in your neighborhood during the day? And how safe do you feel walking in your neighborhood during the night? 100% of our respondents indicated they felt safe walking in their neighborhoods during the day. As you see, 66% indicated they felt safe walking at night. And what we found interesting in those responses was 100% of those respondents who did not feel safe walking in their neighborhood at night, the next question asked is, what can the Taos Police Department do to more enhance your feeling of safety? 100% of them indicated that higher levels of patrol in my neighborhood or greater visibility of officers would enhance their sense of security or safety. As far as our records and evidence section, our levels of service, we are, again, limited at best. Our hours of operation, being that they are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, means we have to be closed on Saturdays and Sundays, so we're not able to provide service on those days. Similarly, I only have 2 records clerks, which means if one is on vacation, sick, or what have you, then I'm cut 50%, and if that individual has to go to town hall to pick up mail or some other duty, then during that time period we do have to close the record section from time to time. Frequently it is closed, as you may have noticed as well, during lunch, because our employees, they have their lunch break, and that's something that we would like to rectify. Our evidence section has similar impacts simply because we have 1 evidence technician, and if and when that employee is ill or has to take vacation, we have a shortfall there. We intend to address that and are in the process of addressing it through redundancies. I'm cross-training my administrative staff to handle our payroll responsibilities and the evidence responsibilities as well to try and enhance our service levels there. But finally, our scheduling and staffing. We are currently on a 12-hour shift, as you know. We are flexing out the built-in 4 hours of overtime. We have been doing that for several months now as a effort overtime savings. But our overall objective is to move to a 4-10 work shift. What that will do is create 3 squads working per day instead of just 2. I currently have a shift starting at 6 a.m. and ending at 6 p.m. The next shift is coming through the door as the off-going shift is going out. And the next shift works 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. The 410 shift brings us 6 hours of built-in overlap because you have 3 squads working 10 hours a day. That gives you 30 hours within a 24-hour period of employed labor on the force or on the street. So we're going to put those 6 hours of overlap basically at our peak call for service times to basically double the number of officers on the street. The other benefit for the 410 is that all of our officers will be working on Wednesday. That means 1 day shift can cover the street while the other day shift is taking part in a training day while on duty and not incurring overtime costs. I'll expand on that here in just a minute. Strengths of the organization include a very diverse and experienced staff. I mentioned Sergeant Weaver earlier. This is a gentleman who's already completed 1 career with the state police and I believe, or a sheriff's department in southern New Mexico, and he's now here sharing his resources and experience as a sergeant with our department. I have officers who have done their entire career with the Taos Police Department and know nothing else and are very proud of that as well. So we have a very diverse workforce with a varied experience base. The ability of the department to come together in crisis has been demonstrated to me on more than 1 occasion. Case in point, I'll refer back again to the fatal accident we had several weeks ago. I had officers who were on their way home going off shift, pulling into their driveway, heard that call go out, and they turned around and came back to work without being asked because they knew our resources were going to be overwhelmed. And this is just one example of the commitment that these individuals have and how they pull together in crisis. And it also reflects the pride in the organization that our officers currently possess. Weaknesses, we have limited measure and management of performance. This is mainly the data-driven decision-making issue, which I will expound on here in my closing comments. Limited proactive mission focus. Every one of our officers knows why they're hitting the street. They understand what their mission is. Where we're limited is in my ability to tell them that, for instance, individuals who run stop signs are the #1 driving cause of accidents in our community. So proactively, I want you out writing tickets on our stop signs to change bad driving behavior and prevent those collisions. We're not there yet. That's where we want to be. Poor working conditions and environment. If you've been to the current police department, you know and understand that comment. However, you'll notice our opportunities. The #1 bullet is relocating to town hall. We're going to fix that issue. Outdated policy and procedure manual. It was last updated in 2006, and that is one of my primary focuses in the coming year to get that reviewed and updated. Other opportunities, again, I've already talked on the 410 work schedule and the enhancement that brings to us. In-house training program that will be implemented with our training day on Wednesdays. And then the regional policing partnerships, which I've alluded to here as far as us sharing resources and coming together in crisis. Threats to the organization, I've spoken about the importance of our fleet. An aging fleet in a police force is a threat. We are currently okay with our fleet. The mileage is appropriately dispersed, but any extended neglect of a police fleet will quickly creep up on us, and those mileages will go up exponentially, as will the maintenance costs. So it does require some attention. Lack of training is certainly a threat, but we do have a plan to address that. The work shifts I've spoken about and the limited intelligence gathering capability is also about our data-driven issues. Whoops. Sorry, Ruben. Can we go back here? In closing, the work plan or the strategic focus, again, going back to the whole concept of focus on 4, we will be focusing on ethical performance, and that is attained through training and accountability. We will be focusing on accident reduction, crime reduction, and enhancing the quality of life of our community. The way we're going to achieve that, item number 1, we have already achieved. We have instituted a new annual performance evaluation for our officers that integrates our goals in a proactive mission enforcement with monthly and daily performance evaluation by their superiors. We will be completing the police department move into town hall to enhance our work environment. That should be done hopefully within the next 2 months. We'll also be integrating in-house training programs into that Wednesday training day for our officers. Instituting data-driven decision-making and crime reduction. I already have my record staff working on mining the data from our existing records management system, but we've also found the money within our existing budget to upgrade that sleuth records management system to version 10, which should also enhance our ability to start creating actual data-driven reports on our crime rates and allow us to start proactively combating that. We will be updating the procedural manual, as I alluded to earlier. And then my final goal for the coming year is to reacquire our accreditation through the New Mexico Municipal League. The Taos Police Department was an accredited agency several years ago, as I understand. That was allowed to lapse. It's my intention to bring us back to top form as an example for this state to follow, and I believe that that's an excellent path to pursue. So with that, that concludes my comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments? Councilmember Gonzalez?
I'd like to ask a question.
Excuse me, this is in the public hearing. Councilmember Gonzalez?
Chief, thank you for this excellent report. It really helps out to know where the department's headed and where it's been, and also where your aspirations are to take it. The one thing I would like to see on a more ongoing basis is a little more data-driven reports in how we can communicate with our constituency base with regards to what's plaguing our community. And I say that with regards to just even a weekly report as to what happens. 90% of the time I get my information from the Taos News Online as opposed to getting it from the horse's mouth. So I'd like to be, first and foremost, be able to address those issues from a policy standpoint, but also from a standpoint of an elected official who is in constant contact with the constituency base, so that we're better informed as an elected body. Also helps us just with our decisions in identifying maybe with what resources. I know you operate on a tight budget as it is to begin with, but having some of that information might bring about ideas on how we can help you better suit your needs.
I think we can achieve that very quickly for you, council member. We actually produce a daily report to the Taos News on the activity from the previous 24 hours, the reports that were taken, and I rely on that a great deal as well. I come in daily and review those, so if you'd like to have those emailed and forwarded to the council, please. I can certainly arrange that.
Our goal is to eventually get you a performance report on all the departments so that all of that information, which of course you will have anyway, will be translated into some critical statistics, some critical graphs that will tell you things are getting better or things are getting worse.
And Chief, also with regards to your operations manual and your procedure manual, I know you and I have had discussions about it in the past. Have we found or made any headway as to making that process a little bit easier for you?
No, sir. We're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, which is
piece by piece.
A daily review and a rewrite. Unfortunately, there are resources available there, as we've talked about, where policy and procedure manuals are maintained online, updated biannually. The companies that provide those services have not come to New Mexico yet, but rest assured, if I'm still here when they do, that will be one of our main focuses.
So, with regards to, let's say, for example, the State Police Department, how is their policy and procedure manual updated on an ongoing basis?
I would have to probably ask that specific question. I would be guessing at this point, but given the resources they have in staffing and support, I would imagine they have an entire division, quite frankly, that reviews that at least annually and updates it based on best practice, on resources from the International Association of Chiefs of Police and other federal standards, and then also through legal advice on case review and precedent-setting cases that have occurred in the last year. There's a number of things that have to be reviewed in order to stay current.
Okay.
So it's a mountain of work.
Well, thank you for the great job you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Silva.
Thank you, Mr. Burr. Chief, thanks for an excellent report. I have a comment and then I have a question. And the comment is I commend you and all the police officers for patrolling more of our neighborhood streets. I've seen it firsthand, like I've mentioned to you.
Yes, sir.
And also I've been told by some of those people in the neighborhood that had some concerns. The question I have is with regard to our county sheriff's department and driving a little too fast along the corridor. And I know that I had brought this up to you before, and have you had any dialogue with our sheriff, and what has been done?
Councilmember Silver, Mr. Mayor, I have not had that opportunity as of yet, but I would tell you that I feel very confident because of the partnerships that we're working on, the various opportunities I have to interact with the sheriff and his staff, that having that discussion is appropriate now. We've established that relationship. So my next opportunity, I apologize, that kind of fell off the radar of my priorities, but the next opportunity I have, I will bring it up.
Yeah, they tend to make restaurants drive-throughs, so we don't want that happening anymore.
I can guarantee you the sheriff doesn't either. So I will have that discussion.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments, questions? Let's see. Councilmember Abate, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Ken, excellent job.
Thank you, sir.
I'm glad to say that for the first time in a long time, the police department is 100% staffed. And as I've always stated, we have one of the best police departments in the nation, and I'm proud that we do. And I know there's a few folks that don't agree with that, but so be it. It's America.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, this isn't a public hearing, but I will allow a question from you, Mr. Northrup. But if it's going to be attacking somebody's character, we're not interested in that.
I'd just like to ask you if you ever feel any political pressure to make decisions based on the politics of the town rather than proper police procedure.
I'm very proud to say, sir, that I have never encountered that feeling or even an inkling of that kind of pressure.
Okay. Chief, I just want to express my appreciation. I've heard a lot of great things, and I appreciate your community involvement as well.
Well, if I can just offer, gentlemen, everything that goes right at your police department is because of the quality of the people, not because of me. The buck stops here when it goes wrong. So I'm very proud of our folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Next, we will go to item 10A, Ordinance 13-02, Sign Code Modifications, discussion of Ordinance 1302, which will replace the Town of Taos Sign Code. This item was continued from the March 26, 2013 regular council meeting. Oscar.
Yes, sir, and we're asking that it be continued again, sir. We apologize for it appearing so many times. It's just that for it to be approved, it's got to be advertised, and so this is when it was advertised. We still have last edits to make on it, and we promise next month it will come to you properly advertised and complete for your approval.
And then also, this does have to, according to our town code, has to go through our P&Z, correct?
Actually, it doesn't, Mayor, because right now it's not in the development code. It's a separate chapter. It's going to the P&Z. It's be there on May 1, strictly for advisory purposes. There's no legal requirement that it be there, but we're going to take it through there, and then I'm done with my part of it. We had some edits to do, and this will be ready to vote on certainly, and I guess it'll be the second meeting in May.
Okay. When is that second meeting in May?
May 28th.
Is it the second meeting or first meeting? Since the planning and zoning meeting is on the, what is the second?
First.
The first.
Yes, sir, next Wednesday.
So would we be able to have it on the agenda for the 13th?
Only if we ignore what the Planning and Zoning Commission says. We have to have some lead time to advertise.
Okay.
So, be on
I
the
see what you're
safe side, I can say with total confidence that we can be ready on the 28th with the final product that's been properly advertised.
Okay. So entertain a motion to continue to the May 28th meeting at 6:30.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I believe, since it's going to be re-advertised and published, we won't need a continuation. We can just say that it will be placed on the agenda again when it's ready and properly advertised.
That's true. You have two choices. We have time to start anew, or it could be tabled and brought off the table for that meeting, your preference.
So whatever the pleasure of the council, we can table it and then with direction to bring it back. Do we have to advertise it either way?
Yes, sir. For it to be approved at that time, it has to be advertised so that the public knows that's when they can come here to.
So by virtue of continuing it, we're not meeting the requirement?
We wouldn't re-advertise normally if you continue it. So if they're going to re-advertise, then I think we should just table this public hearing and allow for it to be re-advertised.
Is that in the form of a motion, Council President?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? And that is with direction to bring back at the May 28th meeting and meet all the requirements. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we will go to item 11A. Consideration and possible approval of Resolution 1320 supporting Mayor Cordova's membership in Mayors Against Illegal Guns, endorsing the efforts of this organization and supports President Obama's effort to develop a comprehensive approach to reducing gun crime. Councilmember Gonzalez, you brought this to members of the council. I signed up as a member of the Mayors Against Illegal Guns about 2 months ago, and to dovetail off of this, Councilor Gonzalez asked that this be put on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, the agenda, the resolution that I have asked to be put on the agenda is a resolution that supports Mayor Cordova's involvement with Mayors Against Illegal Weapons is basically what it is. And what I did was I've been traveling a lot lately, been in D.C., and some of the Senate and congressional delegation had asked constituency bases and municipality bases across the state to kind of mimic a resolution with what President Obama was asking for with regards to support in the way of this, in an effort to kind of move Congress forward, but not only that, to show our local support for this type of a resolution and bill passing through Congress. So before, Mr. Mayor, do we need to read it, or?
I think for members of the listening audience, I think it'd be a good idea if you read it.
Okay. So the resolution states, a resolution stating the Town of Taos Council support for the U.S. Conference of Mayors' efforts to have the U.S. Congress adopt a comprehensive approach to reducing gun crime. Whereas on December 14, 2012, 20 children and 6 educators were massacred at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, by an assailant with an assault weapon and multiple 30-round magazines of ammunition. And whereas in the wake of Newtown, Connecticut tragedy, leaders in several states and municipalities have committed to pursue legislation to curb gun violence. And whereas on December 18, 2012, the U.S. Conference of Mayors issued an open letter to President Barack Obama and the U.S. Congress calling for stronger gun laws, a reversal of the culture of violence in this country, a commission to examine violence in the nation, and a more adequate funding for the mental health system. And whereas the Police Executive Research Forum, PERF, released a statement in January 2013 supporting President Obama's efforts to develop a comprehensive approach to reducing gun crime, with recommendations to close the loophole that allows sales with background checks, adopt effective federal firearms trafficking statute, limit the size of ammunition magazines, restrict military-style guns, and improve the database on which background checks are based. And whereas the International Association of Police Chiefs legislative agenda includes support of an assault weapons ban and support of required background checks for all gun sales, including private sales. And whereas various resolutions have been suggested to encourage background checks on private sales at gun shows, including the suggestion that a gun show organizer could provide a central area for attendees to undergo one background check before making any firearms purchase at the show. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Taos Council strongly supports Mayor Darren Cordova's membership in Mayors Against Illegal Guns, endorses the efforts of this organization, and supports President Obama's effort to develop a comprehensive approach to reducing gun crime. Be it further resolved that the Town of Taos Council urges leaders at the state and federal level to enact legislation that requires background checks for all gun sales, provides for prosecution of straw purchases and gun traffickers, limits the size of ammunition magazines, puts reasonable restrictions on the ownership of military-style guns, and improves the accuracy and completeness of background check database to ensure the safety of our citizens. Be it further resolved that the Town of Taos Council directs the town manager to explore methods for collecting data about the source of guns involved in Town of Taos crimes, and to report back to the mayor and council and to the Town of Taos Public Safety Department. Be it further resolved that the town manager is directed to send copies of this resolution to our state and federal government representatives, including the President of the United States, the congressional leadership, the congressional delegation representing the town and county of Taos and the state of New Mexico, the governor, lieutenant governor of the state of New Mexico, the speaker of the New Mexico House of Representatives, and the New Mexico legislative delegation representing Taos. Passed, approved, and adopted this 23rd day of April 2013 at the regular meeting of the Town of Taos Council.
Okay. Is there any comments, questions from the council? Any questions? What is the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Councilor Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have, under matters from the mayor and council, youth council member Landgraf, you have an item you'd like to present to the council?
Yeah, I do have a proposal. So basically what this is talking about is we have a lot of alcohol-related crashes in New Mexico. We're the 9th highest in the country. Prom night, graduation, and homecoming are the leading events in which teens get behind the wheel intoxicated. And so I am asking for the town of Taos to dedicate additional law enforcement resources to DWI prevention and high traffic weekends to demonstrate their continued commitment to the health and well-being of Taos youth. So, for example, what I was thinking is maybe our chief here could come out to the prom and maybe give a speech, let kids know that this is not going to be accepted. I mean, it doesn't even have to be that long, 5 minutes, and just let them know that there's going to be police out and that they are watching for this.
Chief?
Mr. Mayor, Youth Council, we would be proud to do that. And so and so council members know as well, we do currently partner through grant funding with the state of New Mexico for saturation patrols and a number of DUI checkpoints throughout the summer months. In fact, we have our second one coming up here, I believe, next weekend. But as far as specifically targeting the youth in our community, that's something my staff and I have already been talking about and that I've talked to the sheriff about, actually. So that's something that we're certainly on the radar for. But if you would like to give me a call, be happy to sit down and meet with you, get the details, and we'll work on it together.
I'll get your number right after.
Great.
Thank you.
Youth Council Member Landgraf, I really appreciate you bringing this out. I think it's a very important issue and being proactive, especially as a member of our youth. Chief, if I'm available, I'd be happy from a policy standpoint to get the message out that the council is serious on preventing DWI crashes in our communities.
Mr. Mayor, we'll make sure you are extended an invitation.
Sure, especially in light of the recent crash that we had in our boundaries. So.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Council Member. Any other comments, questions at this time? If not, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We will adjourn to executive session to discuss limited pending lawsuits by Taos County pursuant to NMSA 1978-1015-1H.